The Symphony from the New World by Antonín Dvořák is one of the most often performed and most popular symphonic works. The world premiere on December 16, 1893 in New York's Carnegie Hall was already a sensational success. The New York Herald wrote,
Roaring applause sounded from all sides. Finally, the public recognized a man of great stature, like a fir tree in the woods, whose music conveys such power. His name rang throughout the hall. Dvořák, Dvořák.
The excitement of the audience and the praise of the critics, a testament to the significance that the work would have in music history.
Yes, its popularity is because it's a beautifully made work. It's got interesting ideas. It's overpacked with wonderful things. It's got fascinating colors and shapes. And it's got the Largo in the middle, which for some is one of the great symphonic works ever composed. So it's got all these things to make it live.
In September 1892, the world-famous Czech composer Antonín Dvořák first entered the New World. The 51-year-old must have been overwhelmed, travelling from Prague to the spectacular city of New York. He enjoyed the United States immediately.
And how could I not, seeing it so beautiful and free here?
Dvořák was the first great composer who settled there for a period of time. And for good reason. He'd received a commission.
The Americans expect great things from me. Above all, I'm expected to show them the way to a new independent art. In short, to help them create a national music.
Dvořák answered the call of Jeanette Thurber, a New York millionaire and founder of the National Conservatory of Music. Her offer was not only financially attractive, but also an artistic challenge. As teacher, conductor, and composer, Dvořák was expected to free America from the predominance of European art music.
Dvořák created Czech music by taking out the Germanisms and putting in the Czechisms. And that's precisely what Jeanette Thurber wanted him to do when he came to the United States. Take out the Czechisms and put in Americanisms. And that's pretty much what he did.
My greatest interest is in Black and American Indian folk music, and I'm making my greatest effort to draw attention to the shining treasure of melodies they have.
However, Dvořák didn't literally quote these folk songs. He let himself be inspired by them, adapted their characteristics, and thus created a symphony with a great melodic richness. The first movement begins with a slow, elegiac introduction, an Adagio. The syncopation of the coming main theme is introduced. the Adagio introduction, the Allegro molto follows at pianissimo. Now the horns begin the main theme. Echoes of Dvořák's European homeland infuse the beginning of the American symphony.
We might consider the New World Symphony to be a great American landscape painting, but painted by a European. Well, Dvořák can't come over and immediately change everything he's learned. Let's go to the first theme of the piece. So we have this. Now that sound, this rhythmic figure, becomes known as the Scotch snap, which should in a way tell you everything you need to know about nationality. First of all, it's something that you find in Czech folk music. You can have this strong first beat accent. So in the Czech language, it's the first syllable that's answered. So you get or that's a Scotch snap, but it's also a Czech snap. And it was also something which Dvořák noticed could be found in black music. So it's an American snap.
A second theme follows, which builds a contrast with the first. The harmonic and melodic development stops, a quiet section.
So nothing happens. Same thing over and over again. Repeats. This, I think, has a couple of sources. On the one hand, I think it was meant to depict this kind of Native American monotony. So the idea of classic film Indian music is that sort of classic Hollywood film Indian music. You know, it's very powerful and driven. Of course, it's not at the level of a lot of the pop music now, but it was earthy, it was exciting, and it was important to have as a component. Dvořák claimed that he never quoted any melodies. After all, Dvořák in the United States is hearing so many different kinds of sounds. It's impossible to prove, but the most likely moment is found in the third theme of the first movement. It's very closely related to the song Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. In fact, if you take off the first measure, and the song is coming for to carry me home. The song is swing low, sweet. It's hard to imagine that he wasn't using this song.
A further important source of inspiration for Dvořák was the epic poem about the Native Americans, The Song of Hiawatha. It tells the love story of Hiawatha and the beautiful Minnehaha. The pictorial descriptions of nature in the work fascinated the Bohemian, and the fable inspired his imagination for the second Largo movement.
Dvořák knew that when you create national music, it's not just sound. And it's not just marking that sound polka, it's the myths and legends that connect it mysteriously to the dim past. Dvořák originally titled the sketch Legend and called the first part the beginning of a legend.
The Largo is based on the chapter of the poem describing the first approach of Hiawatha to Minnehaha, which is full of vivid descriptions of the North American prairie. Pleasant was the journey homeward through interminable forests, over meadow, over mountain, over river, hill and hollow. Short it seemed to Hiawatha, though they journeyed very slowly, though his pace was checked and slackened to the steps of Minnehaha. The expressive pentatonic melody of the English horn takes an important place in music history. Time and again its unique qualities are noted. The Largo is structured in a three-part song form. The following middle part is more vibrant and recalls more characteristics of Native American music. A rather grim clarinet solo performed over walking basses continues. Dvořák sets the sad part of the legend to music. While Hiawatha is hunting, his beloved Minnehaha falls ill and dies.
I believe at this moment there's a funeral march that represents the death of Minnehaha. and she dies. And then we get, so at the end we get just this. We've heard this, minor. But now we just have the. This is a passage, I believe, also taken from the Song of Hiawatha. All the birds sang loud and sweetly, sang the robin, sang the bluebird. Dvořák had a book of American bird songs filled with musical examples. They were musical examples of American birds, and the first two are the robin and the bluebird. And so this is the robin, and this is the bluebird. So Dvořák makes a beautiful American cocktail out of these two birds which keep singing together and combining their voices.
The beginning of the Scherzo, with its strong rhythms, recalls once again the music of the Native Americans.
Dvořák told people that the Scherzo was taken from the place in Hiawatha where the Indians dance. The dance is done by Paupakiwis. Paupakiwis is a strange character. He's a little bit like Loge in German mythology, mischievous, a troublemaker, one who wants to disrupt the order of things.
Such passages with clear echoes of Native American music are one reason why the work soon became a benchmark for American composers. However, Dvořák himself was amused by those who sought to proclaim him the inventor of American art music.
It appears that I have confused them.
Some passages of the symphony are neither based on American Indian nor African American melodies. For example, the trio of the Scherzo. This part of the symphony sounds like a Bohemian waltz and recalls a small alley in an old quarter of Prague. Nový svět, in English, the New World. This quarter was at Dvořák's time a favourite meeting place in Prague. It was famous for its music and dancing. This background information helps to explain the following words of Dvořák.
Back home, everyone knows exactly what I meant with New World.
The Scherzo is a memento by Dvořák of his beloved home, which he always longed for despite his intense fascination with America. After this short introduction, trumpets and horns play the solemn main theme of the last movement. group of instruments follows, and a dramatic yet emotional development begins, containing echoes of Bohemia as well as America. In contrast, the second theme in the clarinets sounds quite dreamy, lost in reverie. A variety of interweaving harmonic and dynamic changes impressively sets the tone of the music which follows. Dvořák quotes themes and motifs which have already been introduced in the first three movements of the symphony. They occur successively and together.
This quotation of various parts, various movements in later movements, is a unification device, is a way of trying to unify a symphony whose natural unity has been somewhat distorted by the gravitational pull of this story.
In 1895, almost 3 years after his arrival in the New World, Dvořák returned home to his old world, which was, after all, his true home. As he insisted,
I remain, despite everything, what I have always been, a simple Bohemian musician.
But Dvořák was also aware that the time he had spent in America had spurred his creativity.
I know that I would never have been able to compose this symphony if I had never seen America.
Dvořák left us a work which for some sounds more American and for others more Bohemian or European. In any case, it's marked by a great wealth of melodies and compositional ideas.
Dvořák was trying to create a symphony that was a major artistic statement, not simply a tiny collection of American pictures. I think one thing he wanted to give, for sure, was a sense of the musical richness and the possibilities of that richness. Everyone can have a favorite part of it. Everyone can have a moment that they feel is uniquely theirs and belongs to them. The symphony is filled with characteristic moments. And whether they're Czech or American or European seems largely irrelevant.